I've been using Charlotte Tilbury's Airbrush Flawless Foundation almost every day for over 2 years now, so I feel like I really know my stuff about this one. Let's talk about it. A few years ago, I did a video trying out all of Charlotte Tilbury's foundations to find out which was my favourite, and this one came out on top and I have been using it ever since. Since then, they've actually brought out a new foundation as well, but I just genuinely feel like nothing can top this one. So today I'm going to be teaching you all about it and explaining why I think that. But before we dive in, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Amy and this is my beauty channel here on YouTube, where I make all sorts of beauty related videos, including lots of reviews like this one. So if you're a beauty lover, do subscribe and stick around. I do love this product, but we all know that everybody's skin is different and it might not be for everyone. If you do have any experience with this product, I would absolutely love it if you would pop it in the comments so that we can all scroll down and learn together. I'm not an expert, I'm just an enthusiast. As with all of these reviews, my aim here is to give you as much information as you need to make a decision about whether this product is worth your money. So we're going to talk through what it's supposed to do, the clinical claims, some of the ingredients. We're going to have a look at the different shades and undertones available as well, and then we're going to do a demonstration. I'll put it on, we'll see how it looks, and a wear test too. We're covering all bases. I find with a lot of Charlotte Tilbury products that the way that they advertise them, the models are so like beautiful and perfect, and I always look at them and I think, I just feel like no matter how good it looks on them, it won't look that way on me. So I just wanted to sprinkle a little bit of realism into the Charlotte Tilbury content that you see online, because my skin is very far from perfect. If you enjoy it or if you find it useful, please like the video because it helps me know what to make more of. So let's crack on with the review. The Charlotte Tilbury website describes this as a stay all day, weightless, full coverage foundation with a natural matte finish, which always makes me a little bit wary because you know how some matte foundations just end up looking a bit powdery. I don't find that with this one at all. They claim that this will give you flawless, poreless looking skin. They also claim that it is sweat proof, which I do agree with as long as you dab it instead of wiping it, and waterproof as well. Again, dab it, don't wipe it. They do also say it's transfer resistant. I disagree with this. It definitely does end up on the neck of a lot of my tops and jumpers and things like that. I've had foundations do it worse, but this definitely does do it. They say that it has smoothing, pore blurring, airbrush effects, which is obviously where that Airbrush Flawless name comes in. It is supposed to moisturize your skin for up to 24 hours, and they also claim that it has hydrating, anti-aging and anti-pollution ingredients. So speaking of ingredients, let's have a look at a few of the key ones. Kicking off with Charlotte Tilbury's patented peptide duo, which is called Replexium. This is essentially Charlotte Tilbury's miracle anti-aging ingredient, and it can be found in Charlotte Tilbury's Magic Serum as well. So you're really getting those skincare benefits in this product. There is tocopherol acetate in there, not sure if I pronounced that right, but basically it's a form of vitamin E, which works as an antioxidant. And also nylon 12, which is a polymer microsphere, which gives a smooth texture, and it also scatters the light to kind of blur fine lines and wrinkles. Basically the main points that we're trying to hit are that it's going to be super hydrating, it's going to be anti-aging, it's going to be pore minimizing. You're just going to be left with like a very, very blank slate to do whatever you want on top of. This foundation actually comes in 44 different shades, so it has a really great shade range. I actually have 4 different ones just because I use them at different times of year. So here we have shade 2 neutral, shade 3 neutral, shade 4 neutral and shade 5 neutral. As you can see, all of the neutral shades do actually have quite a warm undertone to them, and each one comes in cool, warm and neutral shades. So cool is slightly more pink toned, neutral is somewhere in the middle, but I do find that it veers towards the warmer side with this foundation, and the warm is more yellow toned. One thing to note about this foundation is that it oxidizes. Within about the first sort of 10-15 minutes of putting it on, you will notice it's darker than when you first applied it. So I definitely find that it's better to go with a shade that's a shade too light or a shade and a half too light. Some of them come in half shades, and then it will kind of transform into the colour that it will stay at. So if you're trying shades and things in store, put it on your hand, leave it there, go and have a little look around and then figure out what you want to do, because the colour really does change from when you first put it on. So with all of that said, I'm going to pass you over to past me now, who is going to try it on and do a little wear test. So as I said, this is my everyday foundation, but now that we're plunging into the depths of winter, it's time for me to open up a paler shade box. So this one is shade 2 neutral. I always go for neutral. In reality, my skin has kind of a pinky undertone, so I should probably go for cool. Usually I would apply primer and also concealer under this. But for the sake of a wear test today, I would like to show you what it would do without either of those things. So I actually don't know, I've never done it without those things before, but let's have a look. So as you can see, it's actually a pretty good colour match. So this is kind of one layer of the foundation. I think it's done a really good job, but normally I would put concealer under my eyes. So I'm gonna go in with kind of a second layer around here and really get it up in there to try and use it as a bit of like a dual purpose situation. Okay, I actually feel like that's done a really good job. I know that some people prefer to use a brush, and fair play to you if you are one of those people, but personally I find that with a brush I lose a lot more product because the Beauty Blender has, you wet it before you use it. It helps the product to sit on top of the sponge rather than going into it, and I just find that you lose a lot less product this way. In my opinion, it goes on more evenly, and I feel like you have more control over the coverage of it too. If you like to use a brush, absolutely fair enough. I just get loads of comments on my videos whenever I choose to use a sponge saying that I should have used a brush, and that's not true. You can use whatever you like. So this is the full face of foundation with absolutely nothing else on yet. I think it's really nice because you can kind of see where it does still allow for like a little bit of glow from your skincare to pop through, or if you're using like a Radiance primer, but it does do a really good job of just completely covering every blemish you have. If I have like a particularly angry spot, I get it on quite a small dense brush and like brush a little bit on as well and go over it with some powder, and it really does sort it out. I will say with this foundation in the darker shades, I'm not finding it so much with shade 2, but it really oxidizes. So in the past I've used shade 3 as my pale foundation, but actually now I'm learning that because it oxidizes throughout the day, so that means it goes slightly darker, it's better in my opinion to go a shade lighter than your skin tone and warm it up with kind of bronzer and have it warm up throughout the day than it is to go too dark, because then you won't match your neck. So as I said, today I've not used any primer or any concealer, and I do think it's done a really good job of my under eyes. I put more on that side than I did on this side, so let me kind of even it out a little bit. There we go. So I am going to set it with a little bit of powder, just because that is an essential step to then using powder products for the rest of my makeup, so I can't skip it. I'm using this Revolution loose translucent powder, so nothing super special. Aside from that, we're just going to see how this wears throughout the day. At the moment I've been using a Rimmel Lasting Radiance concealer, and I also use the MAC Studio Radiance primer, so I do have quite a focus on radiance coming from underneath the foundation. I find that if you have quite dull skin or dry skin, this foundation might kind of highlight that a little bit because it does have mattifying properties. And what I am learning is that this contour stick does not work for me when my foundation is this pale. Fantastic. Right, I think I just about managed to get that blended. I'm going to put my brows on and a little bit of eye makeup, and then I will show you how it's all looking. But at the moment it's sitting really nicely, really kind of smoothly. I find that a good skincare routine with this foundation really helps to get that kind of smooth effect. Because it is full coverage and it is a matte foundation, ultimately you want to make sure that the texture of your skin is as smooth as possible and as hydrated as possible, so that the foundation doesn't cling to any of those dry patches. And I don't think that's the fault of the Airbrush Flawless Foundation specifically. I think you would experience that with most, if not all, full coverage foundations, but I would just say it's something worth bearing in mind. I'm just doing something quite subtle today because I'm just working mostly from home. I've got a couple of appointments. But what I love about this foundation, as somebody who does have quite a lot of like discoloration on my skin, I am quite prone to breakouts and things like that. I feel like it just gives me a really nice like blank slate to work off of every day. But also, if heavy foundation is not your thing for every day, I do think it's a good kind of night out evening foundation option. So this is as much makeup as I'm doing today. As you can tell, I'm really leaning on the foundation here, so I'm hoping that it's going to hold up well. I think it's done a really good job so far of, even though I've not got any primer on and I've not got any concealer on, I don't actually feel like I'm missing anything. So maybe I'm Maybe I'm wasting my money on concealer, I don't know. Let's see how it wears throughout the day. I will come back in a few hours and we'll do a little check-in. So I put this on about 6 hours ago, so I just thought I'd check in. It's holding up really well actually, better than I thought it would be without a primer. You can kind of see some imperfections showing through where I've probably sat like this. But across the board I feel like it's holding up really well. It's not really separating. I sometimes get foundation like separate around my nose a little bit, but it's not really doing that. All good so far. Jess had something to add to that clip. What did you say?
I was saying that Airbrush Flawless is the one foundation that even if I stray away from it and when I finish a bottle decide that I don't want to use it anymore and go and try and buy a different foundation, I then, as soon as I try it again, I go, oh my god, what was I ever thinking? And it is the one foundation I always go back to, no matter how far I stray, because I just love it so much.
I'd agree with that. I think whenever I use something else, I go, oh, this is good, and I'll use it for a few days. And then I'll go back to using Airbrush Flawless and I'll go, oh my god, what was I doing? Why did I bother?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, very good. It's the end of the day now, so this has been on for, I want to say about 14 hours. And it's definitely worn off in the places where I've like touched my face and stuff. I was having a lot of issues around like the 8 to 9 hour mark with like the lines under my eyes, like the foundation was really sinking into those creases. It's definitely for the most part off now, but I do think it held up really well. It lasted about 12 hours. In conclusion, I love this foundation. It is my ride or die. I would say that one of the main downsides is the way that it oxidizes, because it means that you aren't sure what it looks like when you first put it on, so it can sometimes change the way that it looks after a few minutes, which is frustrating at first, but you definitely get used to it. I don't really notice it anymore, but when my friends use this for the first time, because I put everyone onto this, it is something that they really pick up on, so that might take a little bit of getting used to. It also definitely does crease, particularly around my eye area, unless I set it with powder. I just use a really simple like loose transparent setting powder, and I also do use eyeshadow, which prevents it a lot, to be honest. As I've said, I do typically wear primer and concealer with this, but to be honest, it did a really good job of concealing sort of around my under eyes and like the blemishes, although I do think that I might sometimes still need concealer to go over anything like a really different colour. Something I love about this is that considering it is such a full coverage foundation, I don't find that it breaks me out or anything like that, which I think is quite common. As far as the anti-aging benefits go, I don't think you're ever really going to get as good a skincare benefit out of a foundation as you are out of like an actual moisturiser that, you know, really gets in there, or a serum or something like that, but I like to think that it's doing a good job. Basically, I just find this to be a really reliable everyday foundation. Every time I stray away from it and I try other things, when I come back to it I think, oh my god, why bother? I do think that's a really good sign of a fantastic foundation. If you are looking for a full coverage foundation, I think this is the best on the market. It is the most natural looking, like as in natural skin looking foundation, while still being super full coverage. It's not too matte. It definitely is the kind of, they say natural matte. I feel like it sits more on the natural side. So that's pretty much everything I have to say about it. Let me know what you think. I would love to know if you've tried this product, whether you had the same experience as me or a different one. I'll put the links to everything I've been talking about in the description. Also, if you do have any questions that I haven't covered, obviously feel free to pop them in the comments and I will try my best. Subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this one, and let me know if you want me to try the Beautiful Skin foundation as well, because I haven't tried that one yet. I'm kind of curious, even though I definitely think this one would still come out on top. Please like the video if you found it useful, and subscribe to my channel to see more just like this. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one.